Okay, so first off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessor, transmitting masters, and everyone here to share with you this holy teacher's guidance. You know, he wants everyone to return to heaven. Well, all Buddhas want everyone to return to heaven. So these are, he came up with, well, I don't know. I mean, he has some list of a few things that why we can, that we, I guess we don't do, or whatever that we do that prevent us from returning to heaven. So first one talks about if we have insufficient internal virtues, right? We cultivate, there's internal and external, right? So the internal virtues, right? If we don't have sufficient internal virtues, then it's difficult to return to heaven. So Holy Teacher said, disciples, after cultivating Tao for so many years, do you see the Tao, right? The Tao it's invisible, but we can manifest, we can show the, you know, in our conduct and everything, the Tao. So that's what he's talking about. So Holy Teacher sees many disciples are working hard to help in the temple, perform a lot of external merits, right? But the internal saintliness, you know, aspect of cultivation surely gives Holy Teacher much to worry about. So yeah, so you know, you see a lot of people, they're doing stuff, but that's the external side. But what about the internal? We have to cultivate as well, right? So Holy Teacher sighs.
You should be an actor.
No, a bad actor. Holy Teacher sees that each and every disciple is unable to thoroughly understand the mind and true nature. Still having, right, the three poisons, greed, anger, ignorance, plus pride and doubts. Then discriminating, despise the poor and seek favor with the rich, despise Buddhas and saints, claim credit and blame others, and seniors acting autocratically, juniors acting ingratiatingly, and Holy Teacher is heartbroken. Yeah. So, you know, in all temples, you know, I guess he sees all that stuff. So this happens in all the temples. Yeah, first of all, obviously, the three poisons, we need to get rid of those, okay? Greed, anger, ignorance. And then pride, of course, also, I think there's another one that he talked about, pride. So that's why the Buddha nature class, right, the understanding the Buddha nature is very important. We have to kind of get to that point. It's not external stuff. It's not the forms, okay? So we have to go beyond that. So all this internal stuff is, you can say, it's beyond the forms. So we can't have, you know, discriminating mind or despising poor. Yeah, so seeking favor with the rich, or, you know, despising Buddha and saints. You know, claim credit and blame others. Right? There's saying we're supposed to 推功揽过, right? So basically to give credit to others and then take the blame. That's how we're supposed to do things, but it's very hard to do. Very hard to do. Yeah. You know, sometimes the seniors, or, you know, those who have some position or whatever, they might think, oh, you know, I have some authority, so they act on their own or whatever. They don't necessarily follow the principles or the regulations and rules. So you got to be careful of that. As juniors, which, you know, we act ingratiatingly. It's like, try to curry favor with some transmitter or someone, you know, say, hey, you know, whatever. So that's not good either. So that's why Holy Teacher is very heartbroken, right? So hopefully, yeah, so it's not just, so the external merits, yeah, we need external merits to offset karma, okay? But at the same time, the internal cultivation is, I guess you can say, it's more lasting. I mean, because it becomes part of our virtue. So that is what will allow us to, if we go back, to stay there. Okay, I mean, you know, some people say, oh, you need external merits to stay in heaven. But I would say that actually that's used to offset karma. Of course, if we still have karmic debts that haven't fully paid off, yeah, then our stay in heaven will be limited. Eventually we come back and we have to pay off those debts. Okay, so So yeah, at the same time, yeah. So as long as we have enough external merits, then to offset our karma, then the rest all depends on our internal virtues. Okay, so that is what really, I mean, if you think about it, Buddhas, yeah, they have a lot of external merits too. That's true, but there's no Buddha that has any of these like three poisons or any of these other things. So that's very important that we need to do, and that's very hard to cultivate. I mean, some people say we can cultivate in heaven, but that's really that's not the right way to look at it, because it's very difficult to cultivate in heaven. Why do we need to cultivate here in this world? Because we do have these interactions with people and these situations that we're in, constantly testing, in other words, or as Mo Lin, right? The constant, you can say the refinement, okay, the testing and refinement that happens only in this world. So it doesn't happen in a vacuum, like in the vacuum of heaven or space, where no one's gonna bother you or whatever. So that's why it has to be done here, and that's really the only way. It's really the only way. I mean, so yeah, we should definitely, once we understand that, then we have to do our best here and not say, I just cultivate external merits, get enough so that I can go back and then I can cultivate there. But really, our time is limited there too. 10,800 years is basically, it sounds like a long time, but it's basically like one lifetime in this world. So it'll be over really quickly, and then we won't be able to cultivate the internal virtues, and we have to come back. So that's something that we should keep in mind. Okay. All right. So number 2. If one does not cultivate internal saintliness, it is difficult to return to heaven. Okay, so again, emphasizing the internal virtue aspect. Right, there's a saying that we, as cultivators, we have to be 内圣外王, which is like a saint, like inside, and outwardly we're like, I don't know, kingly is noble, really noble. How we deal with people and situations, being very noble. Okay. So disciples must understand, because heaven has made Tao available, that you are very blessed to have received the Tao, but you also must truly cultivate and refine yourself to make an effort on cultivating internal saintliness, to get rid of 60,000 years of all kinds of hindrance and attachments, such as bad habits, sins, and 7 emotions, 6 desires, fame, wealth, and human affection. Only then can you return to the root and reach the origin and revert to the true nature of Tathagata. Okay. Only in this way can you truly prove the Tao that is within, right? So we all have this Tao, the Tao, which is our true nature, our Buddha nature. But we don't act like it. I mean, we don't show it. So and to show that, it's not just doing the external merits, though. I mean, we have to, from the inside, show that sincerity, right? To show our true nature from within. So that's done through our virtues. Okay, so we have to, and we've been in this world for 60,000, in this cycle for 60,000 years. So we have all kinds of attachments, right? That's why we're still here. And, bad habits that we've accumulated over many lifetimes, sins, committed many sins, all these emotions, desires, of course, fame, wealth, even like, human affection towards other people. So that leads to more karma. You create a karmic affinity that, keeps going. So we have to learn to kind of try to cut those off. And that's basically, so trying to be like a saint, right? Okay, so we have to prove that we have this Tao within us, right? We have to prove it through how we conduct ourselves, how we behave, how we talk, everything. Okay, how we treat people, others. All right. So that's kind of a kind of extension of that first one, but so again, we can see the emphasis on the internal cultivation, right? The third says, if one forgets the true nature, our true nature, it is difficult to return to heaven. So Holy Teacher transmits the Tao by God's decree. Tao is not in Holy Teacher's finger, and is not in the transmitter's finger. Tao is in your true self or true nature, right? So it's not some external thing. In other words, this Tao, right? It's all within us. We all have it. And so we have to not seek the thing that's outside, seek it within us. Okay, so even though the transmission is not, Holy Teacher didn't give us this true nature. We already had it. It's just pointing it out to us. Okay, that's all that was. Okay, so that's why it's not in his finger, right? So because we already have it, so we need to realize it.
A lot of elderly people, you tell them every 5 minutes they keep forgetting. What does one do?
What if they keep forgetting? Yeah, well, then you have to keep reminding them.
No, elderly people will not remember.
Well, yeah, they might have.
That's going to be.
They don't have a memory. Well, but they need to see if you're at that stage, and it's like it's hard, and if you're not cultivating, and then.
And they don't have any descendants that's cultivating.
Well, then no one's to help them. Yeah, so.
Super hard.
Then it's hard. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna, if they don't really know to cultivate, then it'll be difficult. Yeah, I mean, they may be able to. I think it depends on what their merits and all that, but they can go back. I mean, I don't know. Heaven is kind of, they have like different. Different departments or different areas. So like the basic, I mean, we have to know, okay, well, it'll mention the three treasures. That's the next thing, right? Knowing the three treasures get you in the door, but then, if we don't have pretty much nothing else, then there's like a place where we have to like kind of cultivate and practice. Yeah, and learn. But then now, whether that means, well, yeah, I mean, so that's not really, that's like the outer, I think that's the outer courtyard of the, whatever that heaven, okay. And then, so people who are there, they'll, I don't know, well, they'll have a limited time there too. And then, so they're going to, unless they can really cultivate there, I'm sure they have to come back, in the next cycle. So, yeah, I don't know how you can,
Yeah, because there's so many elderly people around. They just don't remember.
Yeah, so,
Even
well,
my mom in the old days, I keep telling her, you tell them one ear, it comes right out the other. No matter how many times, 5 minutes, they still don't remember.
well, I mean, but it might still be, it is still in there. Deep memory is in there.
When they pass on, then
It's in there. It's in there. It is in there. It's recorded. It's recorded in there.
Yeah, because I mean,
Everything is recorded.
yeah, everything that basically you say that okay, people, okay, example like the story that this guy goes to hell, and then he says okay, he sees whatever events that happen.
Well, they show the thing.
Show the mural.
Right.
So I don't know. In that case, you'll get.
They'll remember.
Yeah, we all have this black box that records everything, and then so it's like, I guess it's from the eighth consciousness that records everything. So
because everything's stored in there.
yeah, so they just play it back. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, but realize that everything is false except for this true nature. So, but we, as cultivators, we borrow the false to cultivate the true, right? Which is borrowing the false, this body, which is false, which doesn't last, to cultivate that true self, that true nature. That's the eternal self. Okay. All right. So, we should not pursue those material things. All right. So the three treasures, the fourth one. If one forgets three treasures, it's difficult to return to heaven. In transmitting the three treasures to disciples, it is telling you the essence and functions of our true nature. Right? The true self or true nature is the Buddha. Right? Three treasures is within and pervades the self. So it's within us. The three treasures actually, it's part of us. Okay, or it is us. Okay. The pure and innocent heart and mind. Okay, so our original true nature is pure, innocent. That's the Buddha mind, the Bodhi mind. Okay, pointing out that these three are the true nature of the Tathagata, right? So the Tathagata is that that like the Buddha within us. Okay, so the three treasures besides the knowledge. Yeah, okay, so we say you have to know it, the knowledge to go back. But it's also, that's the external side. The internal side is, it is us. I mean, like we talked about the three levels, right? The Buddha, which is the absolute level, and then there's the relative level or spiritual level, and then the physical level, right? So we embody all three. And so really the cultivation, knowing the three treasures also means to practice it, to use it, right? In our cultivation. It's telling us how, that we need to follow our Buddha nature, follow our conscience, follow the principles, and putting it into practice. Okay, that's what the three treasures is talking about, right? Okay, so so that's besides the knowledge, of course, there's the three gates, and I don't know, whatever, nine doors, channels, I don't know, tunnels or holes to get through heaven, right? So there are various tests that we have to go through. And so one of them is the three treasures. The others are like things, whether we have desires, attachments, things like that. See if we're greedy, things like that. So it's very important that at the end, when we leave this world, that we have let go of everything, let go of all attachments. Otherwise, when we go up there, we're not going to pass the test. We're going to come back down. So that's very important. All right. So it's better that we let go now while we have the chance. Don't wait until the very end, because it's very hard to let go of things that we've had for a long time, like habits, right? So, okay. All right, so number 5, if one deceives or takes advantage of people and spirits, it is difficult to return to heaven. So we should not take advantage of others, right? Whether we can see them or not, right? People cannot deceive or take advantage of people, spirits, our own mind, heart and mind, and least of all heaven. Holy Teacher hears some disciples say, other branches and lineages of Tao do not have the mandate. Only our lineage has the true mandate. So they must join our lineage and receive Tao again. It says every branch has this problem. People are criticizing, attacking, and slandering each other. Maybe you haven't seen this. I mean, some of you have seen this type of thing. There is this. Yeah, you can say this probably happens in all. I know. Some groups, they say, oh, we don't believe you guys have the mandate, and you can't come over here. It's the same thing. Even most of us, our groups, we also kind of look down on this other group that's. Well, no, we don't look down. But we just kind of like, avoid, I guess. Like the Sishong, because we say, they're not following the matriarch. Right. So, they were following Holy Teacher now, 18th patriarch, but it's not for us to say. We shouldn't judge. Okay. So they have their own affinity, karma that leads them that way. And that's, so that's what Buddhas tell us to, just bless them. Okay. But, they go their way, whatever. Just like in our group, our temple, there was a split too, and so those people who left, I guess, they were saying, oh, Holy Teacher did say, the flesh on either side of the hand is still the same, and so, but it's just a question of the way, I guess, that came about. I would have, fault them for that. They're still cultivating. It's just that maybe their attitude or point of view is different, right? So that we still need to respect the other people. We don't have to follow them, but we just respect and just let it be. Okay, so let's see. Holy Teacher sees disciples pulling and recruiting and vilifying others. Disciples must realize that no matter which predecessor you follow, Everybody is a disciple of Holy Teacher, and it is Holy Teacher who is transmitting the Tao. Right? In your eyes, you see heaven's mandate belonging to the transmitter or predecessor, slandering other temples, claiming and owning other temples' Tao kin for selfish desire and personal gain, and consolidating your own position. So disciples are leaving the temple one by one, making Holy Teacher bitterly sad and disappointed. Yeah, so this is kind of like an infighting, which, yeah, because of the different points of view, I guess, maybe even, differences arising from different ways of doing things. So we should not fall into that trap of say, they do things differently, or they don't see it the right way, and but we should definitely not look down or despise others or criticize them. Same thing with religions, actually. I mean, we'll mention that later on too, but we should not say anything bad about those. I mean, it's just so Buddhas, the way they deal with it, for them is everything's suiyuan. It's just follow the affinity, whatever the affinity. We don't force them. Say, they're going the wrong way. We have to force them to come back. We can't do that. I mean, just that's how religions did things before, right? That's why they have these religious wars that came about. It's like forcing. This is God's will. You got to listen to. So yeah, we can't do that. So that's not the Tao. So we should not do it that way. It's just okay. So they're, if they're not, they want to go that way, then let them. Everyone bears the consequence themselves. So there's no need to. I mean, we could try to talk to them, but then again, if they don't want to listen, then that's it. Okay. So, that's sometimes I see, when you're trying to introduce people to the Tao, we're trying to force our view on them or something, which is shouldn't do that, cannot do that actually.
Because once they receive the Tao, they won't come back.
Yeah, yeah, if they won't come back, and then worse, they might say, hey, these guys are bad. I mean, these guys they're like a cult. Yeah, so that's worse, because then they're committing kind of a sin by slandering or saying bad things about even though but anyways, so we have to be careful. All right. So 6, if one performs private or personal Tao affairs, one cannot return to heaven. In other words, we hijack this. We use the Tao to do our own stuff, okay? Or do it in our own way, whatever. I, Holy Teacher, reprimand myself for not being strict enough, which led to disciples not understanding the principles, resulting in being unable to get rid of the heart of discrimination and of seeking recognition and wealth. Holy Teacher really hopes that disciples can share Holy Teacher's burden to nurture a non-discriminating heart that treats Tao kin from all branches with equality. If disciples are unable to get rid of the discriminating heart today and continue to look down on other Tao branches and temples, then Holy Teacher can't help but be very heartbroken. The flesh on both sides of the hand are all part of the same hand. Holy Teacher's love is not selfish, loves everyone equally. Yeah. So, I mean, if we start using our own view or our own personal view perspective to start, even though we're propagating the Tao or doing that stuff, but then it becomes personal, selfish, and that's not right. Okay, so we have to do it with kind of like a fair and equal, just way of dealing with everyone and everything, and so that would be the public Tao, okay, not the personal Tao. Of course, if you go worse, you use. I mean, if we start using the Tao, the name of Tao, and then we doing personal stuff, that we cannot do that either, of course. Okay, so again, so not have this discrimination or differentiation. So that's why I think we also should be careful about. I mean, it's good to. We don't want to exclude people necessarily, but at the same time, people who have different views, and they come in. If they come in, and then they start spreading their views, that can be a problem. And so we have to be careful about not inviting some people, those people in as well. And so there's you can say it's a balance between various what are these principles or virtues, compassion, right? We have to be compassionate and let everyone have this chance. If they want to cultivate here, but then we have to be clear that, if you're going to cultivate here, then you have to follow our, the rules and regulations of this temple, whatever, and so, because otherwise the temple is going to get chaotic, and you won't be able to control. You won't be able to kick these people out. I mean, it's hard. It's hard once they're in.
Go against everything we say.
Yeah. So it's very, very. So that's why we have to be very careful who we bring into the temple too. Just like there's that guy. I don't know. He shows up at lunch, right? It's like he has this strange views. He's paranoid, and so how do you?
Yes, I am this.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so it's like, it's hard to tell them, hey, you can't come, it's like, but, yeah, so it's very, we have to be careful, because you don't want to get into that situation where you're going to have to say, you got to, we can say, hey, you need to come for class, you can't just come to get a free lunch. This is not what temple is for, okay, right? Okay, so one discriminates in the treatment of others, it is difficult to return to heaven. So again, holy teachers emphasizing here this discriminating heart and mind. The Buddhas and saints in heaven are enlightened, understand principles thoroughly, and recognize heaven's truth as the sole recourse. If there is any bit of discriminatory mind, it is impossible to enter absolute heaven. Right? If disciples are clear that all God's children have Tao, that is the true self or Buddha nature, then holy teacher thinks disciples would not be slandering the Buddhas. Yeah, so all the Buddhas treat all sentient beings as Buddhas, really, because we all have that Buddha nature, that true nature. And so, we tend not to see that. We kind of see the surface, we see the person's personality, and then we say, then we might say bad things. Then, so that's because we're not seeing the true nature, the Buddha nature. So it's we all, fall into that. So, yeah, all sentient beings, they all have that. So we should treat with respect all sentient beings. Treat them like they are Buddha, or at least they can become a Buddha. Buddhas treat them as if they are Buddhas. So yeah, we have to be careful. This is something that's kind of hard to do. When someone is showing that, and they're not showing the Tao, they're showing some other bad side, and it's hard for us to see the good side. Yeah.
Use your Buddha nature.
Yeah, you have to use the Buddha nature. Okay, so if one is proud and arrogant, so this is very important too. This arrogance, being proud, say, I know all sorts of things, I know a lot, Holy teacher transmitted Tao to disciples, but do not feel too proud and arrogant at having received the Tao, and look down upon people or spirits who have not yet received the point transmission. Holy teacher has many disciples who are too proud and arrogant and could not return to absolute heaven. Instead, they fell into the path of asuras and the three lower paths of reincarnation, losing the opportunity to truly cultivate. So holy teacher very grieved. Yeah. So, right. So that is one way to become an asura, is we cultivate, but then we're still kind of too proud or arrogant. Then we become an asura. We cannot become a Buddha. Okay. So, or worse. It can be worse, like going to the three lower paths, the animal paths, the ghost, or in hell. This arrogance, so like, I can do all this stuff, or I know a lot, you don't know, things like that. We should not say that. Actually, those who know do not say, right?
Because those who know should teach everybody that don't know.
To teach everyone that they don't know? What?
those that know
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
should teach the ones that
Don't
not-
know.
Don't know yet.
Yeah. I mean, teach them, but
Yeah.
but you have to teach it in a way that not like, say, putting them down.
No.
Yeah. I mean, like, say,
Learn
oh yeah, you guys don't know
together.
that. Yeah. I mean, it's so
Together.
so there's an attitude thing too. We have to have the right attitude. Okay. Always be positive way. Yeah, not saying negative things. You don't know this, you don't know that, you don't know whatever. That's not good. Okay. So again, yeah. So I think it could be very easy to fall into reincarnation again, or become an asura. So that's not good. Okay, next one. If one has not atoned for his or her sins and karmic debts, it is difficult to return to heaven. So again, we have to pay off our debts. So disciples must understand that to attain final achievement, you must self-reflect and enlighten yourself. It definitely is not the case where you just say the right things and Holy Teacher takes you to heaven. Okay, if disciples' sins and karmic debts have not yet been atoned and the 3 poisons are not eliminated, then I'm afraid that it is difficult even for Holy Teacher to take you to heaven. So, yeah, so besides 3 poisons, our debts, again, so that's why we do need external merits as well to help pay off those debts. And that's why some people, they emphasize that, right? Because if we don't pay off all our debts, we may not be able to go back. So if it's serious, I mean, if we maybe we have a serious big debt that we owe, then maybe we can't go back. Maybe if it's like small things, we might still be able to go back for a while, and then we have to come back. But yeah, if it's some serious thing, let's say we owe someone's life, and then we didn't pay that off, then we may not be able to go back even. So that's kind of serious. So that's why sometimes these cultivators, Daokin or transmitters or whoever, they end up with an accident or something, disease, right, that they suffer and they die, and then they go back. But they have to pay back that debt to be able to return. So it's better that you pay off the debt rather than not paying it off, and at the end, you have a long life, but then at the end you still end up can't go back. So it's better that way, I guess. Okay, so if one does not respect others, it is difficult to return to heaven. Cultivation is not for Holy Teacher, but rather for your own, say, Hui Ming, I don't know, it's like the eternal life, the wisdom life. Holy Teacher expects all his disciples to respect all Tao communities, respect all people, respect all religions. If you can do that, then you are Holy Teacher's good disciple and Lao Mu, or God's good children, right? So again, respect all, basically, no matter, whether they're in religion or they're not, or they're in a different Tao temple, doesn't matter. We should just respect everyone. Of course, I would also include respecting all sentient beings, animals too. Yeah, we should do that. Okay. So this is again, this is part of that differentiating or discriminating, heart and mind that we have to get rid of. Okay. So if one does not encounter the enlightened master, it's difficult to return to heaven, of course. Okay. So Jigong is searching all over for good dear friends. Wearing out his iron shoes and tears soaking his clothes. All right, disciples are cultivating for superficial purposes. How can Holy Teacher not be in great trepidation or fear? Walking barefoot for tens of thousands of miles, worrying that sentient beings are still caught in illusory dreams about the mundane world. I have no regrets, straining my Buddha body and heart, hoping that sentient beings can reach the shore of enlightenment. So Holy Teacher, because he's got this mandate, he's got this mission that he's got to carry out to basically propagate the Tao during this time, the White Era, and so he's trying to look for, so a lot of people who, they end up coming to the temple, receiving the Tao. It's like, the Buddhas are kind of like, it's like kind of guiding them, if you will, to receive. And actually, we say, I introduced someone to receive the Tao, but it's actually, we didn't really do much. I mean, it's due to their affinity and probably the Buddha's helping. Okay, so, but Yeah, so this is very important that we have to be, it's very precious, this mandate, this enlightened master who has this mandate, that we can receive this Tao. So that is something, if, so you think about all the people who have not received the Tao, that they haven't encountered the enlightening master. So they have no chance of going back directly anyways, or in this life. It's interesting. I was reading there's like a temple in Taiwan that, it's a little bit, I mean, again, we got to be careful not to talk bad about them, but it just is a little bit different. I mean, they like, seems like when they have like a Dharma class or something like a Dharma class, I don't know if it's a real Dharma class like our Dharma class, but they have people there who have not received the Tao too. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because when the Buddhists channel in, they say most of you have received the Tao, some of you may not. It's like oh, okay, interesting. But
Maybe they're there for the first time.
well, yeah, I mean, but it's kind of it's different. But I heard, well, this is, yeah, I mean, because this person who was in the Buddha Nature line group, I was like transmitting these or sending out these scriptures from, I don't know, from that temple. And it's like, well, eventually it's like, Dr. Shu said, you got to stop that because it's a little bit odd, a little strange, the scriptures, but, and he kicked him out, but because he didn't stop doing it. But yeah, someone said that that temple seems to have a lot of what do they call it? San Gui Xiao Sui no some Guai or something. What's that term? San Yao Sui Guai. San Yao Sui Guai. Yeah. They're like some weird goblins or whatever. Goblins.
Yeah, it may be just qi-tian-xians.
Yeah, in that temple. I don't know.
Qi-tian-xian channel in and didn't know this. I don't think they are qi-tian-xian. They're more like asura.
Well, yeah. Well, qi-tian-xian is considered part of asura.
Well, no. I mean, but maybe even the people going to that temple are from I don't know, have that background. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. Because it's the language they use is kind of a little bit it's different than what we hear typically. So it's like, I mean, I've read a lot of those, and it's like, yeah, it's a little strange.
Remember, the Buddha said towards the end there will be a lot of fake Buddhas.
Well, that too. So yeah, we have to be careful. So that's why.
Even the principles are the same. You got to use your wisdom and your Buddha nature.
Yeah.
To tell you whether it's real or not.
Well, I mean. Yeah, at the same time, we should not well, the principles is the same. Yeah, right. The principles, what'll happen is, I mean, if the principles are all exactly the same, then there's no problem. But it's just that when they might change something a little bit, or it's a little bit, there's some aspect that's a little different, that's off. So we have to be careful, because then we might not notice, right? He's like, oh, it's like 90% is right, and then we just think it's all right. But there's some parts that are not right, and then we believe it, we follow it, and then gradually it becomes 80%. It starts changing more, and so that's why we have to be careful. So that's why it is important to come to class, to temple, to learn, to understand the principles ourselves, so that we can hopefully use our wisdom to distinguish what's proper and what's not. Okay. Anytime, basically, if you notice, I don't know, like the Buddhas they channel, they all talk about, for the most part, they just talk about principles. They talk about, and they talk about yuan, okay, so not affinity, that kind of thing. They don't talk about, like, specific things of how to do something specifically. Yeah, so that's why
And they don't scream and yell.
Well, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, their words are very kind.
Yeah, calm.
And calm.
Yeah, and they don't like force you. They say, oh, you have to do something like this. Yeah, they won't say that. Okay, so So asuras might say that, but and so
Give a hint.
yeah,
They'll
they,
say something very.
yeah, it's subtle.
Subtle,
They
okay.
they say things subtle. They don't like overtly or directly say something like if they
Very demanding way.
yeah, they won't do that. They'll just kind of give you a hint or just say, the principles basically, and you have to use your wisdom to say, apply that principle into your situation because they're talking about maybe your situation, but they don't want to say it directly. And so, but they do it in a way that they talk about the principles, and then we have to use our wisdom to apply that to our situation. Yeah, ourselves. So that's very important. But so like remember like SARS or during those times, right? I remember saying that someone, I don't know if they're saying like holy teacher or some Buddha channel says, oh yeah, you gotta get the green beans, the mung beans, cook the mung beans and whatever, and then whatever using, I don't know, whatever else, and then that can defend against the SARS. But I'm saying Buddhas will not give you a recipe like that. I mean, it's like, so I thought, but the people believe it. Even transmitters, they believe it as well. But I don't think, I mean, that kind of stuff, I don't think.
Even for didn't wasn't there another illness about? I don't know.
Well, besides SARS, after SARS, there was another one, which
there
is,
was another one. What was that?
which is, you mean also from Asia? Or,
I don't remember if it's from Asia, but I know there was
One each
another
one?
recipe.
Something like, I don't know. There was a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows?
yeah. But yeah, every time, they do that. Or, we saw this other scripture that's,
Yeah, by using 香春叶煮什么什么。
oh, yeah, so,
That's another one.
yeah,
don't
see,
know what
I,
illness.
yeah,
What illness is
see, I'm not so sure that those are really,
that? Yeah.
yeah.
The illness is not.
I was throwing them out.
Well, the other thing is, remember also, right, we talk about the Joshen Chizu, right, the 7 generations of ancestors and 9 generations of descendants. So people are trying to calculate how many, how many that were, but the number, because it's basically 2, 2 each level, right, or double each level. So it's like, I don't know, 2,000 something roughly. I mean, that's the minimum. But then there's this one scripture, someone, I think they asked, they asked Holy Teacher, this is not in our, this is in, I don't know if it's like a Baoguang or a Xinyu or some other temple. Holy Teacher said, it's 65,536 or whatever. It's that number. It's exactly that number. I said, well, it's like, what? The math doesn't work out that way. I mean, it's like, so,
Yeah, it's
so,
hard to.
so-
come up
So
with that
what happened
number.
is like some generation they have like 10 brothers and some
Yeah.
family they only have one.
yeah, so that will
Mostly
obviously be
per
different.
generation.
That will be different.
Unless everybody's ancestors all add up together to that number.
But yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, this doesn't make sense. So I don't think Buddhas will also give that kind of answer either. I mean, it just doesn't. Buddha's never said that here, right? He says, "It's Joseph Jesus." I mean, I'm not sure that it really means some specific number per se. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. But
Maybe it's like 1250 like
well, yeah, the 1250. Yeah, see, that's yeah. I mean, well, in all the even in the 6 Patriarch Platform Sutra, he uses that too. But that means that talks about enlightenment. So okay, so all right, okay. So cultivating virtues is a very important checkpoint of cultivation in this final era. It's the Dharma ending age, right? Cultivating our relationships with people, moral virtues, and self-discipline are the most important principles, right? So like precepts, that's why that help us with the discipline. In the future, when there are great tests and trials, they come hidden without topics and principles. Yeah. So anytime there are these, maybe big tests or trials, I mean, we have to understand that they are testing our ability to either follow some principles or whatever. or understand these principles. So a lot of times, so even like probably I would say like the split that happened here is also a test of that. I mean, it's like, oh, those people who split off, they didn't believe that, one of the predecessors, Chen Dagu, didn't have this mandate to have.
So Chen Dagu is one of our.
It's Fa Yi. It's in Fa Yi Congde. Yeah, that she did not have the mandate to, basically ordain new transmitters. Okay, because because Grand Predecessor had that, but under Grand Predecessor, I don't know if any other predecessor did that, right? Because they all kind of passed way before Grand Predecessor, anyways, and she was the only one left after Grand Predecessor. So.
Isn't right now Grand Predecessor's son, Transmitter Han, also can give the mandate?
Right. Well, it's actually a group, I think. It's not just him. There's also a transmitter from Li Si, and also from
other groups.
I forgot another one. But anyways, there's like a group. But so okay, so yeah, they might have that view that but the thing is they didn't really treat senior transmitter Cui with respect at the time and all that stuff. So the way they went about it is, I think, and they were very disruptive, trying to disrupt, tell people not to, follow, not to go, whatever.
Well, it started with Dai Yi trustee who didn't want to follow Cui trustee.
Yeah, well, that was before that.
Was the
Yeah,
first,
that was before.
problem that started.
Right. Yeah. So again, that is like you're not following the predecessor, which is already not correct. I mean, you're not. I mean, you can have disagreements, but you don't, over those disagreements, you don't say, okay, I'm not following you or whatever. So that's not. Yeah. So all right. So but anyway, so that's, I think, is a test of so do not cultivate with a discriminating heart, because we all come from the same source. We are all children of the light of God, or Lamu. Maitreya Buddha's great vow is to transform the world into a pure land. Everyone is a Buddha. Therefore, everyone must attain Buddhahood eventually. Only in this way can there be a world of great harmony and unity. It's not enough to just be good for oneself. So we have to do it also for others. So we have to propagate the Tao, help others. Buddha's Dharma is equal for all. We cannot have a discriminating heart. The only difference is that everyone's karma and affinity is different. So that's where the difference lies. All right, the true self nature must be bright to return to heaven. The Buddha way is but an expedient means, which is kind of, just it's whatever appropriate for the situation or the people. We still must rely on ourselves to become enlightened. We must have the capacity for great love to love the sentient beings in all worlds and not discriminate among religions. This is just one small good deed. As long as the true heart, mind, and true self or nature gives rise to good thoughts, then those are merits, and the true heart and mind and the true self nature will shine brightly. So do not say that other religious traditions and practices are no good, because doing so creates karma of the mouth. Yeah, we have to be careful. The mouth, we create a lot of karma without realizing it. Okay, so we will lose our blessings. Keep this important point in mind. We must follow and practice the Buddha rules and regulations and precepts. Because we are still common people cultivating, do not criticize others, and we will not create karma of the mouth. Yeah, so that's important. I mean, we can maybe not do the other things. Well, actually, if we take the vegetarian vow, we're not supposed to create those, because that's part of it. That's part of the vow. Actually, is what comes out of our mouth. So we are actually violating that vow a lot when we say things we shouldn't say. So we have to be very careful. Yeah. Okay. So that's basically, and then this is not part of that, but this is basically here. It says, if we can see through life, this is in terms of our cultivation, right? So if we can see through life, then gains and losses are become trivial matters that they're not important. Okay. So if we can fully comprehend life and death, then we have nothing to seek out in this world, right? If we let go of our ego, then there will be no disputes, right? Again, so there's something. If we shoulder responsibility, then we can carry out the holy work or holy mission. If our conduct and behavior is upright and proper, then we can reduce slander and gossip. Yeah, I mean, these are just. If we speak with correct logic and reasoning, then others can be convinced, right? So we don't need to use our. So if we try to convince people, then we have to, present it in a way that they can understand and to be convinced. And it has to be logical. If it makes no sense, then they're not going to be convinced. So we have to. That's why we have to understand. If we have true understanding of all the principles of everything, then we can talk about it in a way that people can maybe understand and accept. Yeah. So anyway, there's just some additional thing. All right. So because time's up. What? Huh?
We still have halfway to go.
Halfway? No. Time is up. Okay, so no, that's because I added some others.
I see why. You did that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. She's trying to get out of her responsibility. Hey, see?
No.
See here, we shoulder responsibility and we can't carry out the holy. Yeah, see? All right. So if I had said anything wrong, and I probably, or if not very satisfactory, I asked the Buddhas for forgiveness and also transmitter lectures for corrections. Thank you.